if you thought humans were the only ones looking for the easy option, just wait till you see the laziest loafers in the natural world. We're counting down the top 10 most extreme freeloaders in the animal kingdom to find the creature that spends the most time sponging off its host. Discover that all kinds of animals can get taken for a ride when freeloaders are pushed to the most extreme.
Earth is a planet of extremes. Extreme places. And extreme animals. But some animals are more extreme than others. Join us as we count down to find the most unusual and the most extraordinary on Animal Planet's The Most Extreme. Number 10.
Once upon a time in America, not everyone bought a ticket to ride on a train. During the Great Depression, it's estimated that hundreds of thousands of people became hobos, riding the rails in search of work. Freeloading from the railway companies wasn't without its dangers. But human hobos had it easy compared to our first contender. You can find it in the forests of South and Central America. Here, a rotting log is like a railway station for the 8-legged hobo crawling in to number 10 in the countdown, the pseudo-scorpion. It gets its name because it looks like its more famous cousin, except that it lacks the sting in its tail. Instead, it hunts like a spider using a pair of venomous pincers. These claws also come in handy when looking to hitch a ride, not on a train, but a giant harlequin beetle. Having just emerged as an adult from his home inside a rotting log, the harlequin beetle is ready to take off to find a mate and a suitable tree to raise a family. And since flying sure beats walking, the beetle is about to pick up a freeloader. The pseudo-scorpion is number 10 in the countdown because it's found a way to hop on board the Harlequin Express. By repeatedly pinching the beetle's bottom, the little hobo causes it to flex its abdomen and so open its wings just enough for the little freeloader to slip underneath. Since pseudo-scorpions are small and the beetle is big, it can get crowded underneath the wing covers as other hobos climb on board. The pseudo-scorpions strap themselves in by constructing safety harnesses of silk, because although takeoffs are smooth, the landings can be a little rough. But it takes much more than silk to bolt this hobo in place when it hitches a lift home. The world's most expensive freeloader is the Space Shuttle, because when it's returned from a mission, NASA gives it a piggyback home to the Kennedy Space Center. Even though the modified Boeing 747 is stripped of all but essential equipment, it still has to lift a combined weight of nearly 200 tons. No wonder that, compared to a normal flight, it takes twice the power and twice the fuel to get the shuttle home. Thanks to the efforts of a small team of 6 specially trained pilots and 4 flight engineers, the shuttle is sure to get a smoother landing than the one that awaits the pseudo-scorpion on the back of a harlequin beetle. lay their eggs. They spin a silk chute to lower themselves safely to the ground. The males stay on board, because that's the best place to find another female. Pseudoscorpions mate in midair. That's why the boys fight for territories on the back of the beetle. The pseudoscorpion is number 10 in the countdown, because some of the strongest males can spend 2 weeks hitching a ride. Eventually they have to leave when their lust is overpowered by hunger. However, the pseudoscorpion is a workaholic compared to the contenders we'll meet later in the countdown. That's because still to come are animal freeloaders that can spend all their lives on the scrounge.
Number 9.
Welcome to the Great Lakes of East Africa, home to the largest diversity of freshwater fish on the planet. With so many hungry mouths around, one group of cichlid fish guard their eggs by keeping them in their mouth. It's such a safe place that it's hard to imagine that it could be taken over by a freeloader. The story begins when the female cichlid releases her eggs and then scoops them up into her mouth. She even tries to swallow what looks like a row of eggs along the base of the male's tail. But these are fakes, and instead of eggs, she swallows enough sperm to fertilize the brood in her mouth. And this is when the pair are most vulnerable to the freeloaders swimming in to number 9 in the countdown, the catfish. It looks like the catfish are just after a free meal of cichlid eggs, but they're actually doing something far more sinister. As the catfish gulp down the cichlid eggs, they replace them with fertilized eggs of their own. In the confusion, the cichlid frantically swallows all the eggs around her. It's time for the catfish parents to leave, letting someone else do all the hard work of bringing up their babies. The female cichlid spends more than 2 weeks acting as an oral incubator. The trouble is, the alien eggs develop faster than her own babies. And what's worse, the catfish just love eating small cichlids. The female doesn't seem to notice that all her babies have been replaced by fat freeloaders. Thanks to this mom's devotion, childcare is easy for the catfish. At least these freeloaders only hang around for a few weeks, unlike the moochers coming up in the countdown. Take a close look inside your mouth, and you'll discover at least 500 species of bacteria, fungi, and single-celled beasties. In one mouth, the number of bacteria alone can easily exceed the number of people living on Earth. And before you rush to the bathroom to brush your bugs to oblivion, it pays to remember that not everything living in your mouth is bad for you. Some of the freeloaders actually earn their keep by fighting against destructive bacteria to keep your mouth healthy. Your mouth is actually a war zone. Competition between different kinds of bacteria is so fierce that they defend their territories by firing molecular missiles at each other. There are some good bacteria that use chemical weapons to puncture holes in the surface of competing bacteria. Vital nutrients leak out and the cells starve to death. One of these molecular missiles has caught the attention of Professor John Tagg and his team of researchers from Otago University in New Zealand. They found a way to introduce helpful bacteria to the ones already present in people's mouths. It's a natural way to build up resistance to the destructive bacteria we don't want in our body.
So far, we've seen fish in a mouth and bugs on a back. But still to come, we'll dig up the dirt on the world's laziest dragon. And later, we'll discover that giving a piggyback ride can sometimes